Hi, hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Mouse, sometimes Andy, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I'm going to give you my June wrap-up. As always, I do want to give the disclaimer that it is currently June 26th, so I am wrapping this up a little bit early. I'm only planning on reading 3 or 4 books in the meantime, so I don't expect it to be too much different, right? Okay, let's go. Also, I do want to give a secondary disclaimer that if you hear any kind of beeping that sounds like a fire alarm, like a smoke detector in the background, that is the bird that lives downstairs. He hasn't been that bad, but I can only do so much. So, here we are. Alright, let's talk about the stats first. I read 73 books, I read 73 books, 27,022 pages. I listened for 528 hours, which is 22 days worth of listening. My average rating was a 3.5. I listened to 50 audiobooks, 12 ebooks, 11 physical books. 53 young adult books were read, 17 adult books, and 3 middle grade books. I read from 57 cisgendered authors, 43 white authors, 2 disabled authors, 21 queer authors, 26 non-binary authors, 15 people of color, 5 neurodiverse authors, and then 21 of those authors, it was their debut book. For genres, I read 33 fantasy, 18 books with an LGBTQ main character, 4 sci-fis, 13 thrillers, 5 horror, 5 contemporary, 3 dystopian, 1 historical, 6 retellings, and 1 romance, and that's it. Those are my stats. My average rating was really, really bad. I did not read a whole lot of books that I enjoyed this month. Not because, and I don't know why, I didn't enjoy a lot of the books that I read. And I think part of it is because I'm going through lists, like TBR lists that I've made in the beginning of my book career, and so I'm trying to get through those lists because I think it's important to be organized and clean those up and that kind of thing. So to do so, I am reading those books or like reading the summary and determining if I would be interested or not. And even within determining if I'm interested or not and then still reading them, I'm not enjoying them. So it's been rough. It's been a rough time. I don't think I DNF'd anything this month, but maybe I did. I don't remember. But there were a lot of books this month that, like, when I got to the last 75%, I was just like, do I want to finish this? Do I care? And like, if the audiobook was like an hour left, I was like, alright, I guess I may as well finish this, but I don't give a fuck about any of these characters. I don't care about this plot. I'm super bored. So it was really difficult. The other really frustrating thing that happened this past month is that most of my most highly anticipated releases sucked. I hated them. I did not enjoy them. But then arcs that I had really low hopes for were amazing. So it's been a very strange month when it comes to my consuming content. Let's talk about the top 5 books that I read this month, though. That is going to be The Good Girls by Claire Eliza Bartlett. This is a little bit of a sapphic thriller. Not a little bit. This is a sapphic thriller. I don't know why I haven't seen more people talking about this. It's a really good book, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. That's it. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, honestly. And I think the cover's really cool. Next is Darling by Kay Ankrum. This is surprisingly one of the highly anticipated books that came out that I enjoyed. I was not disappointed by it. This is a thriller Peter Pan retelling, and y'all know I like that. It also has queer characters, which is fantastic, and it's so good, and I love when someone makes Peter Pan the bad guy, because I can't. The only thing is that Wendy is not an annoying main character, and I generally prefer when Wendy is an annoying main character, because I can't stand her. But that's just that's personal bias. It has nothing to do with, like, the Wendy character itself. I have no idea why I always have felt this way, but I've always felt this way. At least I'm consistent. Next is going to be The Valley and the Flood by Rebecca Mooney. This is kind of a nonsensical book, which is why the ratings, I feel like, are so varied in this, like on Goodreads for this book, but I enjoyed it a lot. It's a really good book. I had a lot of fun reading it, and I highly recommend it if you like books that kind of like middle game? That's what I'm trying to say. Shauna McGuire's books, those kind of like nonsensical books. It is a little bit like you do have an idea of what's going on, but it's kind of speculative, and I enjoyed that a lot. So I do recommend that. I enjoyed it. The audiobook's good. Next is the 2 arcs that I read this month that were the best was The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. This is a supernatural, like paranormal horror, and it was fucking terrifying. It was a terrifying book. I enjoyed every minute of it, and it's a long book, but at no point was I like, alright, let's get to the story, let's go. I seriously enjoyed this book. I am so excited for it to come out, and I may buy it and reread it because I enjoyed this book so much. The next one, and this is the arc that surprised me the most. I didn't write down the author's name. Her last name is long. I think the first name is Rebecca. I'm not 100% sure. But that's Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves. Now, this is like a survivalist story, and that's how it is given to you in like Goodreads and stuff. And survivalist stories, like, I enjoy them and I enjoy the plot of them, but I do find that they tend to be slow, and so I don't always rate them 5 stars. I actually rarely rate them 5 stars just because I get bored part of the way through, and so the pacing feels off. Almost always, because, surviving in winter is not like an exciting thing most of the time. But Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves is in this, like, other planet that is, like, Antarctica or the Arctic. It's the Arctic, but, like, uninhabitable. People shouldn't be living there, and they do. And the squirrel bonds with a wolf and, like, steals the wolf and has to, like, survive in the winter scary woods. And it's really good, and the relationship between our main character and the wolf really made me emotional in ways that I didn't expect, because I don't generally like these kinds of stories. So I don't know what about this was so much more amazing. Probably that the pacing was so fast and action-packed that I enjoyed it greatly. We didn't focus on the hardships of surviving a cold night in this scary world. We focused more on, like, the awful people that live in it. And I think that is what made this a little bit better than most survivalist stories for me. Yeah, I enjoyed it greatly. It's up there with Iron Widow for me, honestly. So I know if you follow me on Twitter, then you've probably seen me, like, constantly talking about Iron Widow. That's how I also feel about Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves. So if that tells you anything, hopefully it does. We'll see. The worst book of this month is one I shouldn't even be surprised was the worst book of this month. I shouldn't. I shouldn't have read it. I knew I shouldn't have read it. I knew I wasn't going to enjoy it, but I did, and that is Infinity Reaper by Adam Silvera. I can close this now because I already know how to talk about this. Infinity Reaper by Adam Silvera is the continuation of the first book, and my issues with the first book, because I feel like you need to know my issues with the first book before I can tell you my issues with the second book. My issues with the first book was that I felt like I was thrown into the second book in the first book with I had no understanding of how the world worked. The usage of social media within this world was a distraction piece more than a complementary piece. It didn't work well. And Brighton is a character that I would have sacrificed, a main character that I would have sacrificed for more world building. I would have gotten rid of him for more world building. He is the most frustrating character to read, probably one of the most selfish characters I've ever read, and nothing about him is redeeming. None of his reasons are redeeming. He is not a reasonable character. He is unbearable to read. It's not enjoyable to read. And I like villains. I like bad guys. I like shitty characters. I like morally gray people. I enjoy all of that content. I fucking hate Brighton because nothing about him is redeeming. There is not a single valid reason other than fucking daddy issues, and not even in a way that's enjoyable. None of it's enjoyable. He just wants to be the best. He wants to be special. Brighton just wants to be special. More special than anybody else. And that's it. That's his only thing, and I'm sorry, I know enough men in my life that are like that. I don't need to read about it. So, obviously, in the second book, I'm going to talk about the second book now, and I'm going to have spoilers. So, at the end of the second book starts with Brighton stealing the powers from something. Just stealing them. That's how it starts. The second book starts about Brighton. The one character that, not just me, several other reviewers said, I could have done without this entire character. So the second book is focused entirely on Brighton and Brighton's fall from grace. Because Brighton apparently was a good guy. I don't really know. It doesn't really seem like it to me because he's fucking frustrating. And anybody who constantly talked about wanting to be that special should not have been included on any of these plans. Like, he clearly was going to become a bad guy in the end of the book. And he did. Shocker. Shocker! To become the most special in the whole world, Brighton became a villain! Who's surprised? His motivation is that he's not special enough and nobody appreciates him enough. Go to fucking therapy. Go to therapy and fuck off. I'm sorry. I can't even deal with that in female characters that turn evil. I just wasn't appreciated enough. Like, unless your boss was, like, harassing you and you dealt with it to get a raise and then you decided to kill him, that's different. I think those motivations are fair. But to have your brother become a superhero and you not become a superhero, so you decide to become a villain and be the worst thing ever because you're not fucking special. We don't get everything we want in life, dude. Grow up. I couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand the book. I wish I hadn't read it. I will not be fooled into reading the third book because I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about Brighton. If we're going to focus on the one character that several of the reviews said, I hate this character, then why the fuck would we... Why? And I remember when the first Reaper book came out, and people were incredibly pissed off by how hyped this book was before it came out, and how bad it was when it came out. I remember people being pissed, but I had just started in the book sphere, and so I wasn't comfortable being as aggressively opinionated as I actually am. I know y'all are like, I love how, like, yourself you are. In those first videos, we were a little toned down, because I didn't want to upset anybody. If you like these books, great for you. They suck. Infinity Reaper. That's what it's called. It sucked. Or wait, is that the second? I don't know. It sucked. It sucked. It sucked. The first book sucked. The second book sucked. I will not be reading the third book. I don't recommend it to anybody. If you want, like, a valid villains are not that bad, or, like, villain, good to evil villain story, or, like, I don't know, anything else, morally gray characters, read, you know, Iron Widow, very morally gray character. Beyond the Ruby Veil, main character's a bitch, and I love her for that. Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves, even she's a little bit morally gray in that, nah, not that morally gray, but she's not the nicest. Who else? We've got They Never Learn, where a main character kills people who sexually assault others. Just murders them. Love that for her. She's a serial killer. There's a bunch. There's a bunch of options for you if you want a great villain origin story, or Hench. Hench is a good one. There's a ton. Don't read this book. It's bad. Terrible villain story. Even the Archenemy series is better. And I liked the Archenemy series, don't get me wrong. The Renegades, that's what I'm thinking of. The Renegades series by Marissa Meyer. They're a very amazing storyline of superheroes versus villains and how all that can get misconstrued. And maybe that's what Adam Silvera was shooting for, but he didn't make the mark. He missed the mark heavily. So that's the worst book I read in June. Thanks for watching this video. I gotta go now, but I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry about the rant. If you didn't enjoy this video, let me know in the comments down below how I can do better. If you've read some of these books or want to read some of these books, also let me know in the comments down below. I just, I like to know y'all's feedback on some of the books that I've read. Like, do you have the same opinions as me? Can we talk about it? Unless it's about the book by Adam Silvera, and then I don't want to talk about it because you're wrong if you liked that book. Sorry. You're not wrong. Just maybe misguided. Alright, I am gonna go. Don't forget to take your meds and drink your water. I will see you guys again on Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time and again on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Take care of yourselves. Okay? Thanks. Bye.